I had this song called Ebony and Ivory, which is about black and white people,
Right.
or yellow and red, really. I mean, it's about harmony between races. And so because it was ebony and ivory, I thought, well, I'll be the ivory, so I need an ebony. So I thought my best choice would be Stevie Wonder, if I could get him. So I telephoned Stevie and said, you know, do you like the idea of doing this? And he said, yeah. Well, I didn't write it now. I mean, I wrote it maybe 2 years ago. But at the time, it's taken from something I heard someone say once, you know, about the piano, that you have black notes and you have white notes. And if you just have the black, it's boring. If you just have the white, it's boring. You need the two together, you get harmony. And I think it was Spike Milligan, actually, comedian, who I heard say it. And he said, you need the two to get some harmony. And he said, and this is what we should do in the world, you know, and just all join together instead of standing apart, you know. So got to think of the Earth as a planet instead of all little races of people. And I think the time is now for that, definitely. So, based on that idea, I wrote a song called Ebony and Ivory. And I did think at the time that, because there didn't seem to be too much racial tension when I wrote it, I thought, well, maybe it is a little late. Maybe we should have needed this song before Martin Luther King and before civil rights and all that. But since I wrote it and recorded it with Stevie, there's been quite a bit of tension. Not really just racial tension, just tension anyway, you know, around the world. There's a lot of it just suddenly come up this last year, you know, with like America and Russia and Europe in the middle. Little theatre, you know. Sure, fellas, come and play in our theatre, you know. So, and then they had the riots and everything where it looked very sort of, it was police there and stuff, and you have a lot in your country and stuff, you know, all this tension. So I thought, well, maybe it is a good time for it. Maybe it isn't too late. I think it's as timely as it ever was, really. Unfortunately.
パーは今聞いたエブニー&アイビーについて話しました。意味はエブニーはピアノのブラックキー、そしてアイビーはホワイトキーのこと。要するにエブニーはブラックピープルのことで、アイビーはホワイトピープルのことを意味する。パーはアイビーなのでエブニーの友達を探したかったので、誰が一番いいかなと思ったら、スティービー・ワンダーを思い出して電話かけたら OK が出てすぐにレコーディング始めたそうです。
そう。さて今度はですね、ニューアルバムについてポールが語ってくれておりますけども。
じゃあもう聞きましょう。
Well, the black contemporary music is largely because I like that kind of music, and one of my ambitions has been to work with black musicians. And with the Beatles, we worked with Billy Preston on Get Back.
ニューアルバムはブラックミュージックとビートルズの良さをミックスして作った。そのアイデアはずっと前からあったそうですけど、ビートルズ時代ではビリー・プレストンと一緒にゲットバックをやったけど、その他は全然なかったと。
なるほどね。ゲストに、さて今度はですね、ウィングスについてポールはどう考えているのか聞いてみましょうか。
Well, I've been working with Wings for a long time, and I wanted a break. I wanted to change things, mainly because I thought it was getting in a bit of a rut. That if you work one way for a long time with a group, unless it's the Beatles, I didn't really feel like could change a lot. But with Wings, I felt a little bit like the records were becoming a bit samey.
今はちょっとお休みで Wings とは長くやりすぎたんだって。
That's what I was doing then. There was a couple of fellas in the next cell to me called Fujiyama. Yeah, a guy called Fujiyama. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't want people to know he was in jail. You know, maybe I'd better not talk about it. Anyway, there's lots of Fujiyamas in Japan. It could have been any. And they were friends, you know, through the wall. They were just friends. And I can't speak much Japanese, and they couldn't speak much English. So we always used to shout things at each other, you know, and I'd shout things like, Suzuki! Kawasaki! And they go, Suzuki! And they'd shout things back at me. They'd shout, Johnny Walker! Johnny Walker! Johnny Walker! And we'd just speak words that we understood, eh? So, I mean, that was most of our conversation. And they would shout, Maggie Thatcher! Maggie Thatcher! I said, what? It was Maggie Thatcher, you know. Maggie Thatcher. Oh, Maggie Thatcher. So I was just trying to think, Datsun. You know, all the names I could think of, Japanese names that are popular over here. And we sang the Sukiyaki song, because I know that one. Sukiyaki. And he used to sing, what's it called, enka? Enka, you know, country music. One of the guys used to, and I used to make jokes of him. I'd go, so, you know, it was quite funny. And then sometimes I used to do like English songs for them, you know, I would do a little concert, you know, just sing Babyface. Just sitting on the floor doing things. Babyface, you got this. I don't know what Babyface was.
ジアマさんという人が壁越しの友達だったんだ、彼はまだジョンにいるかもしれないね。僕は日本語はダメだし、彼も英語はダメ。それでお互いに知ってる限りの単語でシャウトしてコミュニケをしていたんだ、僕は鈴木川崎、そしたらジョニー・ウォッカって返事が返ってくるんだ。次にマギタッシャって言うから、なんだと思ったらマギタッチャー首相のことだったんだ。それから日本の歌で知っているのはすき焼きソングだけだったんだ。それを歌ったら彼の方から演歌うわーっと返してくれたんですね。そしたら僕は床に座ってベイビーフェイスを歌ったらすごくウケたんです
ね。えまあ随分ハッピーに過ごしたみたいなんだけども、まあこの藤山さんという人はね、ある意味では日本人としては大変幸せだったのかなという感じがするんですけどもまあでも彼も今社会復帰して幸せに暮らしてるといいんですけどもね。
そうね。だけど藤山さんはビートルズのポール・マッカートニーだって知ってたのかな。
まあそれはね本人に会ってみないと分かりませんけども、
だけどさ、ああやって会えるんだったら私もいいな。
何を言ってんですかあなたも。そんなことで留置場入っちゃいけませんあんた。はい、それでは USA Wings のライブ。
Been recording when John died, and like a lot of the people who had been closely associated with him, we all kept recording. George Harrison, the same day, went into the studio. Yoko, pretty soon after, went right into the studio. It was just so hard for everyone to bear that either you were going to sit at home and just think, or you were just going to try and just do something to take your mind off it. And all of us kind of had the same reaction, and I was here on that day, and I just came in and we just tried to work normally. In fact, the song we were recording that day was the B-side of the single, Raincloud.
この Tug of War レコーディングしている時に陽子から電話があって知った。悲しくってずっと考え続けたんだ。でもそのことばかり考えると耐えられなくなるんで、スタジオの中へ入って一生懸命仕事をしましたと言ってました、
ね。まあポールにすればね、ジョン・デロン。
But yeah, so we had sort of finished, but I was wondering if I would write anything to do with John, or if it was too close a subject to write about, you know, too hurtful, whether I could do anything about it. So I didn't bother to try and write anything. I thought, well, I won't write anything. But I just found myself one day doing these chords, and the thought that came to me was that I thought a bit about me and John, which was that sometimes I would say, oh yeah, I know John very well. I know John. And John would turn around and say, no, you don't. He knew you well. You'd probably just laugh and say that we were worlds apart anyway, if you were here today. So that's the idea.
パーはジョンのことについて曲を書くべきかものすごく迷ったそうです。ジョンのことはよくわかってるつもりでも、仲が良ければ良いほどジョンのことがわからないことがあるかもしれないと思ったんだよね。でも Here Today のアイデアは、今ジョンがここにいてパーがわかってるよお前のことはと言ったら、ジョンは多分笑ってそんなことはないさというジョンの考え方を歌にしました。
なるほどね。まあ、もう一度ね、ポールは考えてたという話も伝わってきておりますしね、まあ、ジョンも再び活動を開始した矢先の死だったのでね、まあ、僕らにとっても非常に残念だったわけなんですけども、まあ、本当に悔しい気もするんだけども、ヘレンはどうでした？
私は思うのに、もし僕が君のことをよくしているよと言ったら、君は今日ここにいたら何と答えるかなとかね、 愛してるよって初めて会った時、何にもあんまり話はうまくいかなかったけど、2人でいつも歌えた、それでビートルズの別れた時とかね、悲しい涙を流した時もいつも一緒にいたい、そういう青春の話だったんですね。悲しかった。
なるほどね。ください。
I feel very good about it, because I always loved it, and I still do. I like to listen to the music. I can't believe it's that long ago, and I can't believe it's gone. This crazy thing about life. It's funny. You just look at it and it's gone. So that's weird for me, but I look back on it with great pleasure.
今でもいい感じだし、昔のことだと思われない。終わってしまったことも信じられないし、いろんなこともあったけど、やっぱりいい思い出がたくさんあると言ってます。
僕なんかね、さっきも言ったように、ちょうどビートルズが世の中に出てきて解散するまでを知ってるわけなんですけども、今日のね、このポールのいろんなインタビュー、あるいは、ニューアルバム聞いて、いいなと思ったのは、なんか落ち着いたっていう感じがしてきましてね。ビートルズの時代、僕なんてのはやっぱりね、一番青春の一時期でしょ、最高の時にこれを聞いてるわけだから、でその当時やっぱり一番なんか茶目気があるなと思ったのはポール・マッカートニーなんか一番茶目気があるなと思ってたんだけども、僕